This is Sheev, and we got God's Eye and Tantai, who is playing a Second Galaxy 2. And we're gonna just talk a little bit about pretty much life, Second Galaxy 2, how it is right now. And yeah, we are both having a great day right now, so it's gonna be fun. Okay.
It's very enjoyable. And
Yeah.
and Tantai is a great guy. But Tantai has a long history with Genesis, and his name will be familiar to some of those people over there. And of course, my name will be familiar too. So we're probably not unknown to Eve Echoes.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is Genesis also in Second Galaxy, but I got it. Okay.
Tantai was actually in Genesis, and his corporation. There was a couple corporations that moved over to us, and Tantai was part of that group. So like if you go back to Genesis and talk to them, there's a couple of people that they had a very bad separation. Let's call it a bad divorce. I wasn't part of that, but Tantai, McCain, some of the other guys, they had a bad divorce with Genesis back when it was all still in Second Galaxy.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, and he says he's not part of it, but the real truth is that the only time we really tasted greatness was when he was there. So God's Eye's the GOAT, and when he left Genesis was really just nothing. There was no brilliance, there was no ability to evolve with the changes in the game, and God's Eye was able to do that, and that was why we left Genesis Second Galaxy.
And let me clarify that a little bit too. So I wasn't in Genesis, I was in Red Rum, and so I was the number 2 guy. Yeah, and so over here in Second Galaxy, and this is relevant to all of the Eve Echoes players, because Genesis is still a real thing over there. And so over here in Second Galaxy, which is where Genesis began, they started off as a corporation, or I'm sorry, as an alliance called Noir, and then later on they reformed as Genesis. I was in Red Rum, and I was the number 2 guy there. And Malsey and I, so Malsey was number 1, I was number 2, and Malsey and I had a division of labor where Malsey was like the political leader, and not to mislead anybody, every final decision came down to Malsey, but I was the military leader. And so military decisions were my purview, and Malsey made an alliance with Genesis. And so there was a long period of time where Genesis and Red Rum traveled together, and we did everything together. And so when you talk about Alondria, Momosaurus Rex, all of the original leaders of Genesis over here, even Kerensky. And, I've had a couple of conversations with him as well. But we all were we were enemies, and then we were on the same side because we had won the war over there, and so Genesis was traveling with us, and so we had a long history together. And there was a point where we were just going through the galaxy and just stomping things out, and eventually, we can lay all that at my feet. And I had an issue with some of the things that were going on, and I left. Red Room and Genesis continued on together, but I left. So, but there was a point where, me and all the Genesis, all the original Genesis people in Second Galaxy, they knew my name. I was the fleet commander. We were all doing things together, etc.
Okay. So how is it? Like, how have you played Eve Echoes at all? Like, when I say at all, do you know how it works?
Yes, I have an account. Well, actually, that kind of brings me to something else. And of course, I don't want to slander anybody because this could be denied. But when I tried to join Eve Echoes, people in the beta had taken my name of God's Eye so that I could not have my name when I joined Eve Echoes.
Oh, that's clever. I usually do that too. I try.
So when the game actually went live, I did not play the beta, and there was already that rift between the beta and it going live. And so when I tried to join the game live, my name was occupied. So in Eve Echoes, I'm actually God's Eye OC. But I
Oh,
do have an account over there, and I originally joined Op4S, which is my corporation over in Second Galaxy's Op4, and so I joined Op4S over there.
I also play Eve Echoes, but no one knows who I am.
are you active right now?
I am not active right now.
But you're active like weekly, on a weekly basis.
He's hiding.
He's hiding.
He's like, I'm not saying anything.
Do you know that I have a skin contest coming up today? Are you gonna be there?
Show up.
All right. Okay. So
I followed when we were in war. The enemy I was following, but I'm not following now because we are not at war with the enemy in Second Galaxy.
all right. Okay. Okay. So what's the biggest differences between these two games?
I mean, that's a really good question.
I got a real simple answer, man. I think that Second Galaxy is everything that Eve is without the stuff that you don't like. So it's a lot more colorful. It's a lot more chipper. The traveling from solar system or traveling across the galaxy doesn't take as long. I think really Second Galaxy took all the things from Eve that are great and just kind of improved on them a little bit, but dumbed it down a little bit in the fact of arcade mode and the fact that we can still fight with 1,200 pilots in a system, that kind of thing.
I would agree with that. I think that the big, when I talked to the developers a lot about this, and they said that all of the original developers of Second Galaxy had played on the Serenity server on Eve Online. And they were, and of course, Second Galaxy was first. In fact, Eve Echoes was created as a response to the fact that Zilong had created Second Galaxy. And they had this idea when they came in to creating Second Galaxy, which was not to duplicate Eve Online. A lot of the mechanics and everything are exactly as Eve Online is, but in terms of the overall gameplay, they tried to remove the monotony from it and let you focus on the part that most people enjoy, which is the fighting. And so Second Galaxy is much they always erred on the side of a more pleasurable game experience versus what was viewed in EVE Online as a more realistic mechanic.
So the fighting style and the play style for casual as well as PvPers and fleet commanders and big alliances, and that is, in your guys' opinion, what could we say? Better executed?
Well, I would say more facilitated. So if you look at which you played EVE Online for years and years. I've still got accounts over in EVE Online, and when in terms of comparing it to EVE Online versus EVE Echoes, we'll just focus on the EVE Online part. And so if you're going to have 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 people fighting in a system in EVE Online, it requires a huge amount of logistics, and you have a big barrier that you have to overcome in order to even bring the war to the enemy, because you've got to stage ships and resources and all these other things, because otherwise they can rebuff that first assault and then that's over. With Second Galaxy, and then again, just this is in relation to the question of what are the differences. So in Second Galaxy, you can instantly move to a system. So
Instantly.
there is no exactly. So there is no, well, we've got to get all of our corporations and all of our allies and all of our alliances to spend a week moving everything over here so we can have this fight. In Second Galaxy, you can, and I'm probably miscommunicating this. So there are these speed ups that you can buy with your core resources. So it's not like you can just press the button. There is some cost to it. But when you are a high level pilot, the cost for everybody is completely mitigated by the fact that you're in a good corporation and a good alliance. And so what that allows is that if you're going to have a fight in this system, the whole server can come. And they will have access to their entire hangar, etc. And so, in other words, what I'd said originally is they facilitate the ability to have that large-scale warfare. And what they took out was all the monotony of the logistics and moving all the ships manually, and you don't have to spend 8 hours as a player staging up for that attack.
Yeah, that's legit. I mean, if it gets into the chat room that a big fight's going down, everyone shows up, and they all have the ability to show up because it's just that easy. And when they show up, they have everything they need. They have all their ships, they have all their ammo, they have everything. All they got to do is just come on out.
So there's like a 3 hour cooldown period when you declare. So it works exactly like EVE Online, where you'll have multiple phases. The other difference there is that with EVE Online, you're going to have shield, armor, hull. But this is just going to be shield and armor. Again, another simplification. There is no hull timer. So when you break armor, that's the end of it. But there's a 3 hour cooldown on shield. But because of the mechanics, when you're in a very, very hot war and you declare, 2 or 3, whether it's buildings or entire systems or whatever, you can expect in a hot war that they will defend phase 1. And you may have, back in the old days of a year and a half ago with our big wars over there, you could have 1,800 people, 2,000 people in a phase 1 on the shield timer because everybody can move that quickly.
So there's a phase 1 and a phase 2, right? Phase 1 shows up 3 hours after the declare, and then phase 2 is determined on the timer of the corporation that they attacked.
Yeah.
So
for instance, so
2 good fights, and he declare.
Absolutely, but when we were involved in a big war, galaxy wide at one point about a year and a half ago, and that was we were very much outnumbered, and it was probably say about 4,000 versus 1,000, and not that we could put 5,000 people in the system at any particular time, but that was basically the numbers on each side. And in that war, we had made the decision early on that we were going to make every effort to defend every shield timer in advance because we knew that we were outnumbered and that we didn't want to allow them to just have all the shield timers in order to stretch us out so that they could set up 6, 8, 10 shield timers a day. So we made it was always part of our strategy from the very beginning that we were going to fight out every shield timer. And we spent 5, 6 weeks where we were always on call. But that was the standing order that if anybody, issued an attack, we had 3 hours to get there and we were going to defend.
And by shield timer, he means phase 1, because phase 1 is shield, and then phase 2 was the armor on the building or the system or whatever.
Yeah, but that's what I'm translating it to his terminology. He totally gets that because, like in EVE Online, it's shield, armor, hull, phase 1, 2, 3. I mean, we call it phase 1 and 2, but the same thing. He understands what I mean.
Yeah, I get it. The way I hear it is that Second Galaxy is more to the point. I mean, if you go in, you can go in and you can have a fight without too much fuss. But EVE Echoes is more like we just started talking about this, but it feels like EVE Online is more of an MMO where stuff takes time. kinda. Would you say that Second Galaxy is more like jump in, play, and have a good time, and just log out, and that works?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I would, like I said, I think that they had what the developers definitely tried to do was keep all of the important aspects of Eve Online, which was to say like all of the things that were really fun, and that really comes from a certain perspective, which is if you are like a ganker, this doesn't mean anything to you, but Second Galaxy definitely has that ganking aspect to it as well. In fact, it was too far that way, and they dialed it all back. But with Second Galaxy, again, the best thing I could say is that they tried to remove the monotony from the gameplay. So whenever there was a question of whether they should err on the side of what was more realistic or what was more enjoyable for gameplay, they just said, hey, look, we don't care if it's realistic. We want it to be more enjoyable for gameplay. So they tried to facilitate the actual gameplay more than anything else. But, when it came to the wars, again, the NRD war that we had, which was, just given a little bit of history, and you can edit some of this stuff out if you need to. But Red Rum was a multinational alliance, but we were always more Russian than anything else. We were always, and of course, whenever you hear Red, most of our people came, like the people that had come from Eve Online were from Red Alliance. But we were 65, 70% Russian and 35% English speaking, but we were definitely a Russian alliance, and we were allied with the Chinese. So if you compared this to EVE Online, it would be like Red Alliance and FRT kind of against the server, and we had taken a dominant position. Now, that was not easy. We definitely, plenty of people came to try to stomp us out at the very beginning. And you know what, again, talking about the EVE Online roots, the thing that I heard from the very beginning of the game is that I had ended up in this Russian alliance kind of by chance, and it wasn't by design, but I had ended up there. And the thing that I always heard from the opposition was, we have got to stop them before they become Red Swarm, because once the Red Swarm rolls, then that's it. And so there was this very early on, there was this inclination that all the Western speakers, and it was kind of a goon swarm Russian, bias that they had. They thought that we were going to be goon swarm and Red Alliance, which I'm sure that's probably bringing back memories for you. And so there was this tendency that they thought, because we expanded very rapidly. There were, I mean, at that time we had, well over 1,000 players. And and we were very big. We picked up a corner. We probably picked up like an eighth of the galaxy of just this Russian English-speaking alliance, and everybody came against us. All of the English speakers, they formed what was called Triune. And so Noir, Northwest Eden, all the big English alliances bonded together to come and stomp us out. And so they had all came against us. And so very early on, we were under attack. And to tell you the truth, we were losing. There was a period in time where we were going to get pushed out of the game. And so there was about 4 weeks where we didn't win a battle, and we were just losing every fight. And we were just like, man, we got to fix this because otherwise we're done. The game just started and we're finished. But with that said, what it ended up being is that the Russian leader had an old friendship with a big Chinese group, and they had all come from another game, which was Nova Empire. And they had come from Nova Empire, and they had, I think it was, I don't want to say anything wrong, but I think it was server 102. And so they had this relationship. And so it became Red Rum and GE versus everybody else. And GE was very big Chinese alliance. And so, but again, I almost think that they were right in thinking, hey, look, we got to stop this before it grows. We got to nip it in the bud. But we went through a very troubled time early on, and it really kind of made it stronger because we took on all comers. First, we beat Noir. Northwest folded in to Noir. We beat them. We beat Eden, and we never felt like we were on top of the world. But I think that was, we were stuck inside of the forest for the trees, and we couldn't see it. Everybody else on the outside kept coming at us. And I think for us, we kept thinking that we were always the underdog, when in reality, we were just getting bigger and bigger and stronger. And so to shortcut the conversation a little bit, Red Rum and NRD split off of GE. And then we had, we basically took over the entire galaxy. And at one point, we had 2/3 of the entire map, and we were very strong. And I've kind of lost the thread of where we started on this question. But
and that is probably why you guys grew so big. I mean, if you saw yourself as an underdog and just kept pushing,
Yeah, but I mean, like very early on. So the game opened up in September of 2019. And I think the Battle of BS1 was the first server-wide server, and I think that was the question I was trying to answer, which was about the gameplay. And BS1, I think, happened in October of 2019. I could go back and get the exact dates on that, but you're talking about roughly 2 months. But again, about that gameplay style. So the way 2 months into the game, it was all of Red Rum and all of GE. We had already achieved this apocalyptic, we have got to win BS1. And there was this battle of BS1, and it involved the entire server. It was JLSD, Eden, Noir, Northwest, everybody against Void, Red Rum, and GE at BS1 inside of the first 2 months of the game. But because of the mechanics of the game, everybody could come to BS1. You set a relocate, and even if you were, completely on the opposite side of the map, you've got at most like a 10-hour relocate. So you had, inside of the first 2 months of the game, you had literally the entire server converge on one system for a huge battle. And I would love to tell you how strong and powerful I am and how we lost BS1. We lost it terribly. It was a huge embarrassment.
May I just ask, like, the videos that you sent me, is that from the BS1 fight?
Oh no. There are a bunch of videos you can find on BS1, and in fact, you can see I had 2 accounts then, God's Eye and Gale Pavis, and you can see both of them die as Eden laughs. And I think there's this one spot in there where Eden is like, "Oh look, they're coming back again." You can see me and a bunch of other people die again. But no, the videos that I'd sent you was from like TX2, and that was after. So we lost BS1. We lost the system to the east of that, and we lost the system further to the east. We lost several systems. And the videos that I sent you were from battles after we had survived that initial onslaught and had gotten a lot smarter about our strategy and gotten a lot smarter about our techniques. And we had, instituted a lot of different things. And so those videos came from when we were resurgent and were back to conquering the galaxy, which we did. Like I said, in the end, NRD, Red Room, and Genesis. Genesis was much smaller than Red Room, probably like a third of the size of Red Room. But I do remember, there was a system that got declared, And at the time, we took it very serious, and it was declared. And we thought at the time, this is crazy. They've declared this in Russian prime time. I mean, they declared it. There's a 3-hour cooldown, and this thing is going to hit in Russian prime time. And I thought, well, who isn't? And this was back when after we had survived all the onslaught initially, and we were very strong. And I thought, who is going to declare a system? And so Malsey had sent me a message, and he's like, well, what do you think we ought to do about this? And I said, well, I say we go ahead and hit it in shield phase. I said, let's call it got declared 10 or 15 minutes ago. I said, let's go ahead and go in shield phase, and let's call everybody up. And I know it's like a 5 or 6 hour relocate away, but let's call all of our people up. Let's go in shield phase, and let's see what we can do. And so even with having to have everybody rush their relocate, by 4 or 5 hours, but that's again, talking about the mechanics of SG, that's the way it works. And so we put 400 people in system inside of like an hour and a half. And but that's again the difference between EVE Online or even EVE Echoes, and the way that SG facilitates that. And so I say, hey, look, let's call everybody right now as soon as we get off this call, and let's get everybody over there. And we put 400 people in system. And I remember Genesis, like Mama Saurus, I was in comms with her, and she came into the system. She's like, well, we talked to her afterwards, and she said, well, we'll call up everybody too. She said, but it's a bad time for us. It's in the middle of an American work day. And I said, no, we understand. Just bring who you can. And when she got over there, she saw the system count, and she was like, how many enemies? And I was like, we don't see any. And she's like, so the whole 400 is you? And I was like, yes. The whole, as far as I can tell, the entire 400 is us. But that really kind of highlights the difference between SG and EVE, or even EVE Echoes.
Ooh, I think I remember what the original question was. I think the original question was, can a player just come into the game and enjoy themselves? And to that I would say yes. And the reason so is because the maximum player level that you can get in the game is something like 240,000, something like that. And we've had players that will come in and spend some money. If you like spend money in the game, you come in, you spend some money, and you can achieve 180,000 in the first week and a half, 2 weeks of the game. So with that being said, you can come to this game and be competitive in a short period of time if you're a money spender.
Well, I would disagree a little bit with that, but definitely the spirit of what Tantai said was true. So again, and I think this will resonate with you, Sheev, but with EVE Online, you are constantly climbing the ladder. And if you ever feel like you're about to reach for the top rung, they just move it. You're never going to be at the top rung, right? And so Second Galaxy has caps. And and this came straight from the developers, but they said what we want to do is achieve basically that everybody can kind of get to the point where they're as good as anybody else inside of 6 months, and not make it this permanent climb to the top. And so what Tantai was talking about with levels was the pilot ratings. But if you're going to fly, there's only T3 as the top tier. It's not like EVE Echoes where it just keeps on going and you're waiting 8 months or 12 months to unlock the next tier. But once you got to your T3 ships, man, you're capped out. And if you know how it is that you want to play, whether you're a healer or where you're doing shield repair or armor repair or whatever, or you're doing logistics or you're doing damage, you can get up to that level in 6 months, or 3 months, or what. Just depending on what your level of effort is. But you can become useful much more quickly and kind of be at that same plate where it's like, dude, I can go into the big fleets and fight in the big wars in a much shorter period of time. and they did that intentionally. So, which of course is completely different than what you would experience in EVE Online or EVE Echoes. It's like, dude, I just want to, I want to do my work, get to where I want to do, fly the way that I want to fly, and I want to be every bit as good as everybody else. That's the way Second Galaxy was designed.
All right. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And the price is a lot cheaper here too, honestly. I mean, the cost to achieve what I was saying is far cheaper than what people are spending in EVE Echoes. Absolutely.
Yep.
You realize, guys, that you are saying Sheev many, many times. That's my intention. You're calling my name out. Well, you can achieve this. You can. Yeah. Okay. So I really like that. I have been talking about EVE Online, how like what is good and what is bad for a long time now, and one of the bad part about EVE Echoes, for example, is that I mean we are talking about mobile games, and people that are playing mobile games do not usually have that much time. So for a player to start EVE Echoes today, I would say it's very hard to actually enjoy this game enough so that you play it for a year. Sorry, so that you play it for a year just to get into some cooler ships. You know that, because that is what you have to do in EVE Echoes. The way that Second Galaxy have it seems like they have gone the other approach, where you can actually, I mean, you can of course put money in the game, but I would assume that even if you don't put money into the game, you will still climb faster into where it could be. Like, you want to feel powerful, right? You want to have a big cool ship mostly, and
like he said, there's a cap. So the cap is the cap, and nobody goes over that. And the time that it takes to get there is based on your activity and your desire to do so. So, once you make it to that 180 or something like that, I mean, I'm not even 180 pot rating, and I go out and I have a great time. So, that's the dynamic right there, is once you hit that cap, like that cap is it. So you spend that, you spend the money if you want, or you take the time to get there. Either way, you are effective at much lower pilot rating than that.
okay, Tantai. When you say power level, now since I only tried Second Galaxy for a couple of hours, are we talking about like I have 150,000 power, and you get 180,000 power? That means that you will win, or how does that work? Do you fit your ship?
Yeah, so the number is directly related to the research that you have done. So, like God's Eye was saying, you can choose a particular type of style of play that you want to do, and you develop your research in that direction. And as your research goes up, your pilot rating goes up. And there's a couple other things that also boosted your pilot rating too. But research is the main thing, and you can get way ahead of research in a short period of time in this game.
And keep in mind too that like what he's talking about is the pilot rating. It's like a cumulative score of everything that you've accomplished in the game. It is all of your implants. It is all of the licenses that you've unlocked. It is all of the research that you've completed. And at the end of the day, he said 240,000. I think it's like 239,969, or it's an odd number, but that is basically, like, I have an account that's capped out, and there is nothing I can do to make myself any more powerful than anybody else that is in the game. But that means that I have unlocked every single thing. And I have all T3 implants. I have all the research completed. I have every other license unlocked. But when you put that into perspective for what you want to do, it's like, if you want to be a frigate pilot, you can be the best frigate pilot with a 60,000 pilot rating And you are equivalent. If somebody's got a 239,000 pilot rating and they're flying frigates, they're no better than you. You are 60,000 pilot rating, but you've got all the frigates unlocked that you want to unlock. You've got all the research that you need because, again, it's all capped out. And you've got T3 implants, and you really you could be 60,000 pilot rating, and no one will have any advantage over you in terms of that. Now, there are caveats to this. A lot of things have changed since the beginning of the game versus now. And I think that a lot of people, like if people are listening to this podcast and they're thinking about SG, then you're going to get a lot of guys that are going to sound like they had an Omaha Saturday night at the bowling alley, and they're like, "Oh, bullshit!" You know, the game has changed a lot since it opened up. So I'm going to, just like quickly run through like a couple of things where people that may have played the game in 2019, and then they'll say, we're in 2022, and they'll say, "Oh, that's all bullshit. He's just, selling the game." So when you first started off, right? When you first started off, so they had these recruit contracts, and that really always will be a play to win feature. And so, I would say that honestly, and I would make this argument. We can discuss it as much as you need on this, but Second Galaxy is far less pay to win than Eve Echoes or Eve Online. Now, if you go back and compare, and like if you played Second Galaxy in the first 3 months, then everybody right now that's hearing me say that is going, "Oh my God, that's just bullshit." But they have made a lot of changes to the game. One of the things that was always highly pay to win is the senior recruit contracts. And what a lot of people, if they had that initial experience, won't realize the changes that they've placed in effect since then. So initially, you could spend a bunch of money and get like T3 battleship recruits, and you could have a T1 frigate, which was virtually no cost at all. And you could go out there and basically bait them in and then put your T3 recruit on them and eat them alive. All of those things have been eliminated. So now you can no longer call a T3 recruit when you're in a T1 ship. You can only crawl one level up. So if you're in a T1, you can call a T2. But more importantly, it stays limited to the class of ship you're in. So if you're in a frigate, you can only call a frigate. And if you're in a cruiser, you can only call as high as a cruiser. So, like, if you were in a T1 frigate, you can only call a T2 frigate to help you. And that was very much a big part of what people accused Second Galaxy of being paid to win. And it was back then. And I wouldn't even argue it with people. That was very much the case. But all of those things, there have been a lot of mechanics changes that have happened since the initial experience. And so without boring everybody to death and going through all of those, I can tell you that, like right now, the people that experienced the game in 2019, it is completely different than in 2022 than it was back then.
So, okay, so when you say pay to win, I mean, in Eve Echoes and Eve Online, a bit more in Eve Online today, but in Eve Echoes, I mean, you can pay to get the best chips or whatever. I mean, it's all. I mean, the best chip is what, but you can like buy the implant to train quicker. You can buy stuff. Of course, you can have. You can sit in a faction battleship, which is very nice. But I mean, you can still die by a frigate. Can you do that in Second Galaxy? Can you with a frigate go and kill stuff? No. Okay.
Well, I mean, not there. There's no chance that it's like one of the ships that I love the most, and I've really got to credit. He was talking about Eve Echoes, and I started flying that ship all the time in Eve Online, which is not as good at Eve Online, but I've still got an Ashmanu, and I'm thinking, you know who I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
Love
yeah,
the
sure.
Ashmanu and Echoes.
The action movie is good. Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and so the but I'm trying to remember the name of the player because I talked to him quite a bit, and he had a channel as well. God, it's really irritating me that I can't name him. You know who I'm talking about? He was like a big advocate of Eve Echoes, and the name I feel so embarrassed because the name is just escaping me right now.
Well, there is a few guys, but I can't actually. I don't know. Uh,
I'm
did he
scrolling
fly?
through the list.
Did he fly the Shimu all the time, or what?
Oh yeah, there was a video that he had put up, and I'm gonna go look for it and find it because I'm not gonna disrespect him so much by not being able to name him, but
No,
I'm subscribed to his channel, so I'm gonna find it here in just a second. Sovereign RPG. That's who I was thinking about.
well,
Oh, all right.
here's the thing I can tell you, Sheev, Sheev is the 3-man hit squad is where it's at. So you can take
Yeah.
you and 2 other buddies, and if one guy's doing one job, the other guy's doing the other job, and this guy's doing the other job, you can go out and you can have a lot of fun in this game. And
Yeah.
and it's just small scale PvP going around just terrorizing. And it takes only 3 people to do it.
Yeah. And, you know, like in our corporation, like if we're going out to hit people, then I'm immediately looking for Belier, AM Jacker, Wolfric, because those guys can get into frigates and fly super fast. And, you know, but they know what they're doing in frigates, but they're not there to win the battle for us. They're there to get first on scene, not die, get warp locks, warp tackles on those guys, and then we're going to come in with the hitting power. So, but yeah, you definitely cannot say, well, there's a revolution there, and I'm going to go kill it with my frigate. That just cannot happen.
Okay.
Second Galaxy has been changed a lot since.
2 frigates come in. One of them warp locks the guy so he can't run away. The other one comes in there and kind of debuffs his defense, and then you bring in the guy that's going to make the kill shot, and
Yeah.
you can definitely get it.
Well,
done.
you know, in fact, you know, talking very heavily about the mechanics, the EVE Online does a much better job with the game mechanics. I think you and I can get into a heavy discussion about that right now, but you know, than Eve Echoes does. And with SG, it is, you know, again, very early on in the PvP side, which again they have canceled all of that stuff out, and they did it 2 years ago. It's been out of the game for a long time now, but you know, now you are required, if you want to be successful in Second Galaxy, you're required to use the right ships in the right way at the right time because everybody has advanced to that level. And so, you know, you can't think, well, hey, I'm just going to get in a frigate and I'm going to beat everybody, or I'm even getting a cruiser and beat everybody, like the Ashmanu. Like Ashmanu is actually my favorite ship now. Due to Sovereign RPG and Eve Echoes, the Ashmanu is what I fly all the time in Eve Online. I just love that ship. And of course, it's not as good in Eve Online as it was in Eve Echoes, but I love that Ashmanu, man. I fell in love with it. But you have to use a Second Galaxy does a much better job of making you use the correct ship. And, you know, going to like Sovereign Warfare and Second Galaxy, whenever we're assembling fleets, it's like, okay, I've got 3 frigates that I need our best pilots in. And I've got 2 guys that I'm going to have pegged in these destroyers because we cannot win. If I don't have guys, I need 2 guys in Hales, and I need them doing this job with these devices. And on the frigate side, I need the Birch. I've got to have the Birch out there because that's going to limit their range. But I've got like 3 or 4 frigates that I'm going to list out to our fleet. And it's like, dude, where are my guys in these 3 or 4 frigates? I need 2 or 3 guys in these destroyers. I need 4 guys in these cruisers. I need the logistics guys in these battle cruisers, and everybody else I want in battleships. And that is exactly the process that we go through whenever we go in. And we have a very good fleet, you know, very competitive, where we can take on anybody, particularly like as long as we're not outnumbered 3-1, we're going to do well and we're going to win. But Second Galaxy does a very good job now, and I'm not saying it was always the case, but now they do a very good job because of the mechanics of the game of forcing people to fulfill certain roles in order to be successful. And I don't know that that's the case inside of Eve Echoes, but you can, correct me on that. I'm all ears.
Yeah, well, Eve Echoes it's totally different. I mean, the basic foundation is pretty much the same, but yeah, in Eve Echoes, the idea, or like in Eve Online, the idea is actually to be able to do as much as you can with one ship. Now, every ship is counterable from the other side, depending on how they fit their ship or stuff like that. But of course, like a frigate is not as tanky as a battleship and stuff like that. And a great way is to actually use a battle cruiser or a cruiser, but they are slower, so they take more damage. But they also they also do more damage themselves. So how you set people out in fighting in fleets, I think it's pretty much the same as Second Galaxy. I think it sounds pretty much the same, but the way that, like, when I'm listening to you guys when you're talking about Second Galaxy, I get feeling like the only thing you do in the game is actually logging in and having a war, right? We're trying to take this or holding this space here, but I mean, is there anything that you do? Like, do you go out and mine to get resources? Do you build ships and sell to people? How does that work in this game?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I personally think that the game developers made an error in that, because they told me very specifically, like, I talked to them about this. There is a documentary on Netflix about the engineering of social media and how they have basically designed social media to gear towards the reward psychology of human beings. The same reward psychology of, and I can't remember the name of the documentary right now, but it's like The Social Dilemma, I think is what it's called, but it's something like that. And they talk about how, like, Facebook sets up everything where they want it's the exact same mentality as if you go into a casino and you're on a slot machine. And the idea is you're going to go in there and you're going to keep on dropping quarters, and you're going to get that endorphin, charge. You're like, ooh, 3 cherries, and you're going to keep pulling that lever, and
Yeah.
you're going to, go in there like 8 a.m. and at 9 o'clock at night, you're going to be like, oh, I forgot to eat. But and it keeps rewarding you like that. But social media is designed the exact same way, with the likes and the updates and the status reports. And they in this documentary, they talked about how they very deliberately did that. And I talked to the game developers about that. And I said, dude, this is exactly what you get with EVE Online, with the mining. This is the reason people love mining. They love it. And he told me when I was talking to the game designer, he said, we are absolutely not going to do mining. He said, I am absolutely 100% against anything like that. We do not want this game to turn into this endless mining thing that they have. He was 100% vehemently against this. And I was like, look, there's a lot of psychology here that you were throwing out the door. And it's the reason that Facebook is a big, giant company with billions of dollars.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, as a mobile gamer, because I don't play on PC, which is why I didn't play Eve. But as a mobile gamer, I will tell you that I can appreciate a game that I can just sit in my cup holder and play while I'm driving, while I'm working, while I'm doing that kind of thing. So to be able to mine in Eve Echoes, I'm that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm that guy that's in the field mining.
One of a really funny story, and this will bring up mixed feelings for a lot of people. I'll say this just to get you some likes, so people will come to this video. Erroneous was, like you will mention him in Eve Echoes, and people will come out of the woodwork about how, Erroneous, this player, he's like, everybody hates him. And I started off in Red Roam with Erroneous. And, one of my earliest experiences in Second Galaxy was Erroneous seemed to like already be dialed in about the fighting. And, we're inside like the first month of the game. And I just happened to be in Red Rum, and Erroneous started off in Red Rum. And Erroneous like, dude, we're going to go out and raid Kira. Come with me. And we were out all night, for like 5 hours, man, until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And, just, raiding the Chinese and fighting and killing them. And that was very enjoyable for me. Now, there's a lot of people, particularly Genesis, hates Erroneous. And I can tell you that is all that guy cared about was fighting. And when we got into the big NRD war, Erroneous was my primary as the alliance leader. I was always running 3, 4, 5 fleets. And Erroneous, I always put in charge of Fleet 1. He was very good as a fleet commander. And this guy just had a natural killer instinct. And he was everything you wanted. And he saw every angle. His fleet. The only time that we ever got in trouble was at RTA 22 and in that battle. And I literally mean that this is the only time that I corrected Erroneous. And we took a shellacking. We won RTA 22, but we really took an unnecessarily, bad beat on that, in our alliance. And I remember saying to Erroneous, the flagships, the capital ships, are like the dreadnoughts and Eve Onlines or Eve Echoes, and one of them is a Corona, and it is just it just does massive damage. And I remember at RTA 22, I was like, Erroneous, you got to back Fleet 1 up, man. It's too close to that Corona. He's like, oh no, we're fine. I'm like, no, you're not. You're getting eaten alive, man. Back up. And, that was one of the only times that being Erroneous. I mean, he really was a great fleet commander. And that was one of the only times that being him, got into it over. It's like, dude, you're too close to those N13 Coronas. Get back. But he was great fleet commander. My point is that when he went to Eve Echoes, you know what he became? A miner. That's all he done. He spent a year in Eve Echoes just mining. And we were all laughing. It's like, dude, you've turned into a Care Bear.
Yeah.
You were such a killer. You were a fighter. Now all you want to do is, he's like, dude, I just love it.
Exactly like Tan said. I'm sorry. Exactly as Tan Tai said. Like the mining part. I mean, it's not bad. It's quite boring, to be honest, and it's supposed to be boring. Like. And this is what I mean with Eve Echoes being more of an MMO, and Second Galaxy seems to be more of a Counter-Strike. You just go in, you do your game, you have your fun, and then you just log off. How you get the money, I'm not really sure. Do you do like missions or
Basically, yeah. So what they
did instead of mining, you're farming in this. So like God's Eye said, it's all about how much dedication you put into it. So if you pay the $3 a month and you get the extra stamina, or you make sure you keep your stamina going, then you just go ahead and do missions, and after missions and missions and missions, and you can build up a lot of assets that way.
Yeah. You're collecting the resources that you need for production through missions, which I personally think that being designed by the Chinese, it fit in well with their culture, and the mining thing did not fit in well with their culture. And the other thing that I would say up front is that everybody who, like you played EVE Online, I played EVE Online, a lot of people that are in Echoes played EVE Online at some point, and you come in with a certain mentality. Second Galaxy will never satisfy you. You will never come to Second Galaxy. People can come to Second Galaxy and say it's a ripoff of EVE, but at the same time, what they will always say is that it's nothing like EVE. They will always say it's a ripoff of Eve, but they will also say it's nothing like Eve because they came at it with this Chinese mentality. And if what you're trying to do is say, I want a mobile Eve, Second Galaxy is not because they came at it with this Chinese design principle that was completely different. Now, if you're open to a different game experience, well, then Second Galaxy has got a lot to offer you because it has a lot of the aspects that you liked about Eve. And and particularly like if you like to fight, like I heard some guys had criticized me like a year and a half ago, and at this point we had taken over the galaxy, and I ran. I mean, even today, as I'm talking to you now, we still control 1/3 of the land in Second Galaxy. And they had said something, oh, you just don't want to fight. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't even log into the game unless there's, I'm not going to undock unless there's somebody to fight. I've got no interest in going on PvE missions. I just don't do that at all.
That's because you're max, and that's because you got good assets. But to kind of talk about the difference between Second Galaxy and Eve Echoes, like the mining, miners are not going to like Second Galaxy because in Second Galaxy you have to farm that shit. You have to play.
Correct. No, Tantai's,
and you have to do missions.
Exactly right.
There's no way you can do it driving down the street. You can't do it driving down the street in your car. You can't do it at the office while you're doing work on a computer. You got to actually be playing.
And like the other thing that I've heard when you talk about people trying to address the EVE Online problems, and one of the things I hear all the time is about active gameplay. And you hear people constantly, people that have played EVE Online since the beginning, and they say, well, the thing that they have to do is encourage active gameplay. What you don't want is somebody running 8 miners at a time and, or doing the planetary mining or whatever, because that does not contribute to the active gameplay and keeping EVE Online alive. But with Second Galaxy, it is very much like that. There is no passive gameplay. There is no okay, well, I'm just gonna be at the office and I'm gonna let this retriever run for 8 hours and I'm gonna make my money while I do my TDS reports. There isn't that in Second Galaxy. In Second Galaxy, you got to go into wormholes. And there's going to be enemies there, and they're going to shoot you down.
Right. You can't land a ship on grid and just let it roll. That's not like that here at all.
Yeah. You've got to actively play it, and that is probably again going back to the psychology thing and that social dilemma aspect. There's something very rewarding about sitting in your retriever for 8 hours, and mining that ore. And because it's very much like a slot machine, and that mentality is very is very rewarding, but that does not exist in Second Galaxy. But again, that was that Chinese perspective. But also at the same time, like there are all these again, what I said earlier about Second Galaxy being more free to play than EVE Online or EVE Echoes. You cannot. You can spend some money and get some senior contract recruits and things like that, which of course there is some money spent that you have to if you want to do that solo type of PvP. If what you want to do is fly with a team or fly with a fleet, you don't have to spend a dime in this game and you can achieve everything that you want, but you do have to go out and farm.
So in Second Galaxy, you can actually be free to play, and you have access to everything without, like in EVE Echoes, where we have to, you're an alpha and you have to become an omega, and to actually do that as a free to play, you have to farm for, I would say maybe 20 days. I mean, because you will not have the tech level enough to be strong enough to do the missions hard enough to make the money fast enough, so you will actually spend all the month just to pay for your Omega, and you don't have to do that in Second Galaxy, because Second Galaxy give you access to everything. It's just a matter of, can you afford to buy the stuff? Am I correct in that?
Well, I think that you hit 90% of that, and I will try to clarify it. So the way that the mechanics work in Second Galaxy, and again, this is that Eastern philosophy, which is not going to be natural to Western players at all. But everything is about community. Everything is about collective. If you try to go into Second Galaxy and say, "Well, I'm going to start my own corporation," you are going to quit inside of 2 weeks max, and you're going to say, "This game sucks." If you try to go into Second Galaxy and say, "Well, I'm going to play as a totally solo player and I'm not going to be a part of anything," oh, yeah, you're done too. I mean, that's over. Now, if again, with that Eastern philosophy and that collective mentality, which everything in the game is designed around. So there are all these corporations and again, I started off on day one where you had all these corporations, they were all starter corps because nobody had anything. And so I got the full experience of everything that I'm saying don't do because we were all getting the full experience of that because nothing was built. But now you have all these corporations that are there. And so if you join a corporation that is established, which there are, hundreds of them, and so, any corporation that you join that is an actual active corporation, not some, I ran into a corporation today, and that was called FDA. And it was a brand new starter corporation that was created by some Spanish speaking guys like a week and a half ago. And I said, "Dude, stop right now." We have got a Spanish corporation that you can join, and, and I explained the whole thing to this guy, and he immediately quit the corporation and started moving his people over to us. But they had created a new Spanish corporation like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, but they have no systems. And so if you have no systems, then you have no core pay. And if you have no core pay, then the only way to advance in the game is with your credit card. Opposite of that, you join a corporation that is active. And of course, there are a bunch of alliances, bunch of corporations, and they will be happy to give you systems or help you capture systems and do whatever it needs to take. But once you have, like as I explained to this guy, I said minimum nowadays, everybody's going to have 7-8 million core pay. It's like a green currency. And, like when we're dealing with the Chinese, we do everything in colors. So Gala is yellow coin, core pay is green coin. But the corporation will give you 8 million corporation pay, green coin, every day. Minimum. And even if you're in a terrible corporation, you're going to get 4 or 5 million corporation. Now, if you're in a non-existent corporation that's not active, you're going to get 0. But like at the top level, like the corporation that Tantai and I are in, and we're a top level corporation, we have all the big stuff, all the big toys. We get 17 million a day. But if you just join like any of our starter corporations now, you're going to get 7-8 million corporation pay a day. And you spend that corporation pay. Go ahead, Tanta.
That corporation pay is your ability to travel around the galaxy for free.
Exactly. So like the corporation pay, you're getting 8 million a day, and you spend that in the core store, and that gives you all the relocation speed ups, so you can move across the entire galaxy for no cost, so that you can get to every fight. But it also lets you buy all the minerals that you want to pay for all your research. So when you're talking about EVE Online or EVE Echoes, you are capped at, like, you cannot research this technology unless you have Omega. You cannot go beyond this unless you have everything is time based in EVE, and in Second Galaxy everything is mineral based. But if you've got 8 million core pay a day, that will pay for all your research well into like T3 level. And you know, if you're like starting to do your T3 research, and you 8 million a day is not going to be enough. So like when you're trying to get to, you know, there's 5 levels of the T3s, and if you're trying to get all that done, you're going to start running dry. But there are other mechanisms which I won't go into explain, like the recruits and stuff like that, where you send them out on dispatches, and there are other things you can do to fill that up. But the bottom line is like, but like when you're in a corporation like Tantai and are, where we're at the top of the game, where you're getting 17, 18 million a day, we literally buy the core store out every week. I had not shut down. I mean, I can literally run all of my research 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But if you're coming into the game, you join. We have, you know, probably 30 or 40 of those, you know, let's call it 30 in our alliance that you would join, and it's going to pay for all your research. You're not going to pay a dime all the way through T2. And if you've been playing for 6 months, then we're going to move you up to one of the big corporations.
Right. So essentially, you want to get, when you come to Second Galaxy, you want to get into a good corporation right away, and then that gives you the ability to get the minerals, and you can actually get the speed ups for your research also. And if you're a money spender, then you make sure you focus your money on your minerals and your research speed ups, and you can be a very competitive player in a short amount of time.
Exactly. You know, so like talking about like which you already know, Sheev, in all these games, there's going to be casual guys, and that 7 or 8 million is going to keep them playing the game for a year, year and a half, and they're never going to blink twice at it. And then you got guys that are like you, and you're like, dude, I want to get out to killing people right away. And so, but you know, when you see that guy and he's like, oh, so like for instance, using us as an example, we've got Op4 and Op4S, and Op4 has, you know, this, you know, huge, close to the theoretical max on corporation points. And then Op4S, we've got 16, 17 systems there, and they're getting 8 million a day. And it's like, dude, you want to be a casual player? Go over there and play, and they can play for free all day long. And you know, for most of them, that's all we're ever going to get out of them, is they're going to be casual players, and they may turn up to an event every once in a while. But for the most part, that's, you know, they're doing what they want to do. Now, the guys that want to get into the fleets and fight the wars, and, you know, we're doing like 50-man, you know, raids, they're going to go up into Op4S. They're going to go into Op4. They're going to go into ETL. They're going to go into Red. They're going to go into the big corporations, and they're getting 17, 16 million core points a day. Again, everything you if you're getting 16, 17 million core points a day, you can literally get everything you want. The only thing that comes down to a point where you're like, dude, I can't keep up with everybody else, is the recruits. And the recruit contracts are a bit of a sticking point. That is the biggest pay to win feature inside of the game. The exclusive ship, so where you can buy a ship, I tell everybody that joins the game, do not buy a ship, because you're just going to go out and die in it and quit. But the recruit contracts are something that you want to spend on. And you can get 2 recruit contracts for $1 a day. And if you want to save up those, you eventually want to have, like, if you want to compete at the highest level, the minimum required to compete at the highest level is you want like 1 gold recruit that you can take into the wars with you. But you're guaranteed that after 100 recruits. And so, you know, and maybe you don't get the one that you want and you want to keep at it. But if you want to spend $1 a day on, but they give those out in certain events and stuff like that, where you'll get 8 or 10, you know, every month or so. But you're guaranteed a gold recruit after 100 recruit contracts. And so if you want to spend $1 a day, you know, then you're going to get there just like everybody else. But that is a pay-to-win feature. Mm-hmm.
The Golden Recruit, is that an NPC?
It is. So basically, when and this is and again, it's not even really a requirement. So if you want a PvP, when you go to PvP, you get to call a recruit to go in with you, and again, he's limited to your ship. So if you're fighting in a cruiser, he's limited to a cruiser. But he is what is called is a wingman, and so he can if you and there are a whole lot of aspects to Second Galaxy. This is where Second Galaxy greatly diverges. This is not at all in Eve Online or Eve Echoes, but you can recall this recruit, and you've got an NPC that is flying with you, and you can ramp that guy up where he is doing massive damage. And if you want to do like 101 type of PvP, that recruit is a difference maker. If that's the game style you want, you want him.
Or yeah, you can make him a shield logi, you can make him an energy logi, you can make him a debuff pilot. You can do all kind of things with your NPC.
Or he can be like big damage for you.
So okay, like having this talk was very refreshing for me, and I can tell you right now that Second Galaxy and Eve Echoes is not even similar. The mechanics might look the same, but it's not the same. And having these talks, I would like to have a series with this. Like if you guys can do this more often with me, then we could just go through pretty much everything that is a difference between the games. I feel like I've always felt like Second Galaxy is not for me because I already have Eve Echoes, and now I feel Second Galaxy is a different game. It's a different playstyle. The mechanics are totally different. And if anyone who's listening to this want to have hear more of this, then just tell us that in the comments, and I will for sure try to get a God's Eye and Tantai here even more to just delve into this a bit further. But yeah, this was interesting.